What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. We've gotten tons of spoilers for Phase 2 of Season of Discovery that have come out over the past couple of days, so I figured I would sit down and compile this into one nice news video for you guys. This way I'm not spamming your feed with a million different videos. So there's a lot to talk about today, guys, so without further ado, let's dive in. Just a quick heads up, guys, before we get into this video, I run a Fight Club dueling tournament on the first Friday of every month, which is today, February 2nd. We run it in the evening with my guild. We go to the Gurabashi Arena and we duel. It's elimination style tournament. We basically do a 5 gold entry fee, and then first and second place take home the pot. The entire event is streamed on Twitch at twitch.tv/hammerdance. So if you want to participate, join the Discord from the link in the description below, or if you want to just hang out and watch, it's a good time. It's really fun. This is going to be the last level 25 dueling tournament that we hold because next week Phase 2 is launching. So links to the Twitch and the Discord if you want to participate in the tournament, anyone can join, are in the description below. All right, so the first thing I want to talk to you guys about that has come out yesterday are the 2 new PvP trinkets that have been data mined for Season of Discovery Phase 2. What they've basically done here is they have reworked the trinkets. We have the Greater Insignia of the Horde and the Greater Insignia of the Alliance. Now, as you guys already know, that in Classic, the PvP trinkets were a little bit different, right? Some trinkets would remove fears and polymorphs, and others would remove stuns and things like that. What they've done is they've basically reworked them to be the later versions of the trinkets. The Greater Insignia of the Horde and the Alliance now both have the exact same effect, and that effect is remove all movement impairing effects and all effects which cause loss of control of your character, and has a 5-minute cooldown. So this is a really nice change, a really welcome change, so everyone will be on an even playing field in terms of PvP trinkets. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is a new experience item that's coming in Phase 2 of Season of Discovery. It's the Cozy Sleeping Bag, and they basically put out this tweet, and it's an on-use item that says, unfurl a sleeping bag resting inside for at least 1 minute will provide a bonus to experience earned, stacking up to 3 times. And then it has a little quote at the bottom that says, old but still good. Really what it looks like is an item that you can use out in the world that will most likely grant you rested XP, which is pretty cool. It's going to make leveling a little bit easier. It's going to make getting rested XP a little bit easier. And it's nice to see these fun little quirky items that actually are quality of life items added to Classic WoW. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is some class tuning that was talked about less than 24 hours ago. This came out yesterday evening, actually, so spoiler alert here. If you don't want to know any of these class tuning and class changes, definitely skip this part of the video, but we're going to scroll down. I read through this a few times. I'm not going to go through the entire thing because there's a lot that doesn't really matter in here, but I'm going to go over the biggest ones, right? So we're going to scroll down to the most notable changes here, ones that will actually affect your gameplay. And we have obviously Berserk for Druids is going to make you immune to fear effects, rage and energy costs are going to be reduced, and Mangle is going to hit multiple targets. I'm pretty sure Mangle hitting multiple targets is only in bear form, but it could be for cat form too. It doesn't specify that here. Originally it was only in bear form, but this could definitely be changing it so that Mangle is basically a cleave in cat form as well. Not 100% on that, and that is subject to change. Again, this is all subject to change, guys. Stuff is changing every single day as we lead up to launch. So another notable change here is Efflorescence for Druids. It healed up to 3 party or raid members within 15 yards of the target, and now it is all party and raid members within 15 yards of the target for a little bit more healing as well. Enhanced Restoration, your Rejuve and Regrowth spells, so Regrowth has been added to this, can now be active on targets affected by another Druid's Regrowth or Rejuve, so that is really nice as well. No longer will you need to turn away a second Druid healer. You can have 2 in your raid and it will work just fine now. Also, the name was changed from Everbloom to Enhanced Restoration. Moving on down here, we have Lacerate cost change from 15 to 10 rage. Now, keep in mind, some of these changes might already be implemented, and some of them are being implemented with Phase 2, and we'll get to that in just a bit. Mangle cost was changed from 20 to 15 rage in bear form. And as we scroll down here, we're going to find some new ones here. Hunters have some pretty good changes. We have, I think it's, we have Aspect of the Viper, which is going to be a quality of life book. We have Carve. Has the cost of Carve was 8 base mana, and now it is 4% base mana, so that's a big change. Chimera Shot has had its damage buffed significantly from 85% weapon damage up to 100% weapon damage when using it with Scorpion Sting, Serpent, Viper, every version of it. Lone Wolf has now gone back to how it was before Phase 1 launched. It's gone up from 15% increased damage with all attacks while you do not have a pet active. It's gone up to 30%, so it's back to the way that it originally was supposed to be. This is also showing the Beast Mastery rune nerf, but that's already in the game. Showing Chimera Shot again going up to 100% damage. Explosive Shot has had its damage buffed a little bit, and its mana cost reduced from 7% base mana down to 3.5% base mana. And the same goes for Flanking Strike and Kill Command. Both of those have gone from 3% base mana to 1.5% base mana. And then Raptor Strike cooldown changed from 6-second cooldown to none. Moving on down to mages here, there's been a little bit of a change here with mage healing. So basically regeneration and mass regeneration have been changed. The way it was before is this healing is reduced by 50% on self and also reduced by 80% when damage is done by Arcane Explosion. They've now changed that, so basically it's reduced by any arcane spells that damage multiple targets, aka Living Flame. So that was a little bit of a nerf to mage healing, but I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. Going down further, we have Frostfire Bolt will now add a 40% slow and 8 Frostfire damage every 3 seconds, and it's showing the regeneration and mass regeneration nerfs yet again. Going down to Paladin, Seal of Martyrdom got a 10% buff, so you're going to gain mana equal to 20% of the damage you take from the seal, up from 10%. Scrolling down even further, we have some changes here for Priest. We have a little bit of nerfs to Circle of Healing. Obviously, it's showing we have Dispersion being added to the game, so Circle of Healing got a little bit of a nerf. Penance got a small amount of a nerf. I don't think these nerfs to the Priest healing are going to be that significant. They're still going to be really good. Shadow Word Death has been changed a little bit to do more damage, and then you're going to take 50% of the damage that you dealt if the target does not die. So Shadow Word Death has been changed and kind of normalized there a little bit. Prayer of Mending has been nerfed a tiny bit. And then scrolling down even further, we have Shadow Fiend, which is going to be a quality of life book. And then Shadow Form here. Basically, when you're in Shadow Form, it's going to reduce the cost of all shadow spells you cast. Right here, it's showing by 0%. We don't know the exact percentage yet, but it is going to reduce the cost of all shadow spells cast by a percentage. We don't know the percentage yet, but it's going to be in there. And then coming up here for rogues, we have a massive one. We have Mutilate getting changed from 60 energy to 40 energy, which is going to change a lot. I think that is going to make Dagger, Mutilate Rogue, Assassination Rogues essentially the go-to spec for rogue DPS in Raid. I think that really is going to shake things up a bit. I can't really see a scenario where anything else would be better than a 40 energy Mutilate. That's pretty big, so I'm excited about that. That's going to change it up for rogues quite a bit. So we're going to have to stay tuned and see how that goes. For Shamans, we have Maelstrom Weapon, which was when you deal damage with a melee attack, you have a chance to reduce the cast time of your next Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Lesser Heal, Healing Wave, Chain Heal, or Lava Burst by 20%, stacks up to 5 times. So basically, if it stacks 5 times, to 100%, so making it an instant cast. They now added the mana cost in there as well, so it's going to be an instant and free ability now when you stack Maelstrom Weapon up 5 times. We have Power Surge on the belt, which is a rune. Each time your Flame Shock deals damage, it has a 5% chance to reset the cooldown on Lava Burst and Chain Lightning and make the next Lava Burst, Chain Heal, or Chain Lightning within 10 seconds instant. And now additionally, you regenerate mana equal to 15% of your intellect every 5 seconds. Shamanistic Rage also saw a buff here, up from 10% to 20% of mana received. And then we have the Flame Tongue Totem. These numbers are all out of whack. It looks like they're pretty crazy. Like even the level 28 version of Flame Tongue Totem is showing 489 additional fire damage, up from 6.4 to 19.6. So I would not look at these numbers and say they are accurate. They are not accurate. Something is very wrong there, but it looks like either way, it is getting some sort of a buff or a nerf. We do not really know yet. Moving on down to Warlocks, we have a couple of good changes here. Engrave Belt Invocation, right? This was a rune that I was looking at it and I was like, what is the point of this rune? So let me explain to you what the rune was before. Refreshing Corruption, Immolate, Curse of Agony, Siphon Life, when it has less than 6 seconds duration remaining, will cause you to deal instant damage to the target equal to 1 period of that spell's periodic damage, basically 1 tick. And that has now been changed to deal damage equal to the spell's remaining periodic damage. So if it has less than 6 seconds left and you refresh that dot, it's going to do the remainder of what would have been done over time in one nice burst, which is going to feel really good and actually makes that rune it might be a nice choice to use that rune now. So moving down, we have Grimoire of Synergy. Nothing has really changed here. Immolate, nothing has changed here. All these numbers are exactly the same. We got Shadow Flame, got 24 fire damage every 2 seconds added to it, which is basically your Dragon's Breath for Warlock. And then for Warriors, it looks like we got some kind of nerf here to Deep Wounds. Again, I'm not really sure what this change is actually going to affect in terms of playstyle, but it is some sort of a nerf. Maybe it doesn't stack as quick. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below. I've been talking to a lot of people about it, and most people don't really know what exactly this is, but it is a nerf. I can confirm that. So if you understand what this nerf actually is, please drop it down in the comments below. I would really love to know, and I want to know for everyone who's watching this video. I will pin your comment to the top so that we all can actually understand what this change is. I do recognize that it's a nerf, but I'm not 100% sure on how it's going to affect our playstyles. And then scrolling down here, we have Consumed by Rage for Warriors. This is a big one, being nerfed by 10%. It was 20%, enrages you and grants you 20% melee damage bonus for 12 seconds or up to 12 swings after you exceed 80 rage. You know, the warrior playstyle was you're basically autoing to get up to 80 rage, and then you're kind of juggling, staying really close to 80 rage. You're hitting heroic strikes, and basically spamming hamstring if you're rage capped to kind of get below 80 rage, to then boost above 80 rage again to get that enrage effect if it was going to fall off. This has now been nerfed down to 10% melee damage bonus, so this might open us up to some other rune choices going forward in Phase 2, so I'm excited about that. The Consumed by Rage playstyle was getting a little bit stale for me, so we'll see about that. And then obviously we have our Enrage Regeneration rune that we got that's going to help us a lot in PvP, Rallying Cry, and Intervene. Now, a couple of new changes down here for profession items. We have the Mildly Irradiated Rejuvenation Potion. The region was removed, Leaded Vial, for some reason. I guess you're not going to need a Leaded Vial. And the new region is required, Gnomeregan Fallout. I checked to see if it shows how this is acquired yet. It doesn't show yet. Maybe it's acquired from the cleaning machines inside of Gnomeregan. Not 100% sure about that, or maybe you have to disenchant items that drop in Gnomeregan. We're going to find out, I guess, next Thursday. And then for enchanting, we have Enchant Chest Retrocutioner. Sorry, that's a little hard to say. They removed the regent from this Elixir of Demon Slaying. Another big change here. This is a game changer. Enchant Weapon Dismantle, which is a new enchant. What it said before was it permanently enchanted a weapon to do 10 additional points of damage with physical attacks and 25 additional damage with spells. They have now changed that so that this reads, permanently enchant a weapon to cause all spells and attacks to sometimes deal 60 to 90 additional damage to mechanical creatures. So this is going to be a pretty big enchant, so it shows that there's going to be a lot of mechanical units in Gnomeregan, just like we thought, and that enchant is going to greatly increase your damage, whether you are a spellcaster or a warrior or a rogue, whatever you are. It's going to be pretty much necessary because that's a lot of damage. And the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is some updates to old items that have been found in the data mining for Phase 2 on the PTR. So we're going to scroll down here a little bit, and you're going to see some items, the old version and the new version. The old version of the Illusionary Rod, which drops in Scarlet Monastery, has now been changed. It had no spell power on it before, and it gave you 7 stamina, 15 intellect, and 10 spirit, and it now gives you 7 stamina, 15 intellect, and 12 spell damage and healing. So that's a nice change there. We have from the graveyard, we have the Ghost Shard Talisman now gives you 5 spell damage. They took off the 4 spirit from it. The Necrotic Wand now gives you 7 spell damage instead of just being a flat wand for damage. The Embalmed Shroud, which was a cloth head, level 30 cloth head, now gives you 8 spell damage on it as well, and they took away the stamina from it. We have the Mantle of Doan, which drops from the library. That was a shoulder item that gave you 8 intel, 7 spirit. Now it gives you 8 intel, 10 fire spell damage, which is really nice. The Robe of Doan, again, 4 stam, 13 spirit. Now it just gives you 13 stamina and 5 spell damage. The Illusionary Rod we already went through. We have the Cathedral We have Mograin's Might, which is a two-handed mace. It's pretty iconic, 2.8 speed, 17 stam, 16 spirit. They changed it to be a 3.2 speed. It's going to give you 17 strength and increase your damage and healing done by magical spells and effects by 19. So that's a nice paladin or shaman mace right there now. It's no longer just this weird, useless mace. We have the Triune Amulet, which is a neck that now gives you 15 spell damage. We have the White Man's Chapeau, which was that head, you know, the iconic red headpiece from Scarlet Monastery Cathedral, is now going to give you 20 healing, 14 intel, 14 spirit, and 20 plus healing. So that's really nice. We have some Ultimate item changes here. The Stoneweaver leggings are now going to give you 18 spell damage. The Revelash's gloves are now a standard blue item instead of a green, that are going to give you 11 stam, 12 intellect. The Revelash Spalders, the Revelash Arm Guards, the Revelash Boots, same goes for all these. They used to be a random enchantment item, and now they're going to be a static blue item that gives you straight stats. So scrolling down even further, we have Razor Fen Downs. The Robes of the Lich are now going to give you 20 intellect and 12 spell damage. The Spider Silk Cape is no longer going to just be a blue cape with 11 stamina and 5 spirit on it. It's going to also give you 8 spell damage. They took off the spirit. It's going to be 11 stamina and 6 spell damage. Sorry. The Death Mage's Sash, which is the cloth belt out of there, is going to now give you 15 intel and 7 spell damage. Mordresh's Life Skull, which is the offhand from there, is now going to give you 11 spirit and 6 spell damage. The Glowing Eye of Mordresh, the neck piece, is now going to give you 11 spirit and 11 spell damage. The Death Chill Armor, which was the male chest piece out of there, is now going to give you 3 stamina, 20 intellect, and 11 spell damage. Now, some changes to profession items here. We don't have to go over every single one. There's a ton of them. But if you could just see here, basically the entire golden scale set for blacksmiths has been changed to now give strength and spell damage on almost every single piece. It really seems like they're pushing these pieces of gear for shamans and paladins, which is nice to see, because for paladin and shaman, you always did struggle with gear, especially in this level bracket. So the entire golden scale set is now giving strength and spell damage. We have the Moonsteel Broadsword, which was a level 31 sword, 2.8 speed, 4 stam, 12 spirit. It's now giving you 4 stamina and 26 plus healing. So it looks like they're trying to go for this like paladin melee, like holy pally melee DPS healer thing, which is pretty cool to see. So I guess Holy Paladins are going to be in there with a two-hander, whacking away, trying to get some mana back, and also blasting off some heals while doing it. Pretty cool to see. As for the enchanting changes, we only have one here. The Greater Mystic Wand now gives you 5 spell damage. It's a level 31, which is really nice. We have some leatherworking changes. The Guardian set is now going to be giving you spirit and spell damage. So it went from just intel spirit pieces all over to just spirit, but also spell damage pieces for the entire Guardian set. We have the Turtle Scale set here. They are now going to be giving you stam, intel, and spell damage on each piece of those. That's the male pieces up from the leather. And then we have the tailoring changes, the Big Voodoo Mask, the Big Voodoo Robe. Both of these are now going to not give you any spirit. They're going to give you the same amount of intellect, 14 intellect on each piece, but the mask is going to give you 11 spell damage, and the robe is going to give you 11 spell damage. Onto the Black Mage Weave set here. We are taking off the intellect, right? So they got rid of that 14 spirit on the legs, and it's going to give you they got rid of the intellect, sorry. It's going to give you 14 spirit and 9 spell damage. The Black Mage Weave vest is going to give you 12 spirit and 13 spell damage. The Boots of the Enchanter are now going to give you 8 spirit and 6 spell damage. The Crimson Silk set here looks like they took off the spirit as well for this. So this set is going to give you intellect and spell damage. And then the Earthen Silk set here, they took off the stamina. So this set is going to give you spirit and healing. So this is going to be the healing set going forward. Earthen Silk Belt, Earthen Vest, and the Enchanter's Cowl is going to change a little bit there. We have healing on the Earthen Vest, the Earthen Silk Belt, and then the Enchanter's Cowl is now going to give us 10 intellect and 7 spell damage, as well as the Long Silken Cloak is going to give us 5 intel and 7 spell damage as well. So moving on now to the new profession items that have been data mined for phase 2. We're going to scroll down, and starting with alchemy, we have insulated niodine. This is going to be a reagent, it looks like, to be able to craft other recipes in the phase. We have the mildly irradiated rejuvenation potion. On use, restores 262 to 438 mana and 340 to 46 health. Also increases attack power by 40 and damage done by all spells by 35 for 15 seconds. So a nice DPS potion, basically, for pretty much casters and physical DPS as well. So it's going to be fun to see how that's going to get used. And we have blacksmiths, have the low background true silver plates, another regent that's new. The reflective true silver brain cage, which is a plate helmet with 14 stamina, 15 intellect on it, and an equip effect that increases your spell damage by 21, and an on use to gain reinforced willpower, preventing silence, interrupt effects, and spell pushback for 10 seconds. So I'm assuming the only class that's going to be using this would be paladins. We have the tempered interference negating helmet. This is a plate helmet with 16 strength, 16 stamina, an equip effect that increases your chance to get a critical strike with melee and ranged attacks by 1%, and an on use to gain intense concentration, reducing movement speed by 20%, but also increase your spell resistance to all schools by 50 and increase melee attack speed by 20%. So kind of a hybrid tanking helm, but also DPS with that 20% attack speed. But I'm pretty sure that the leather working item is still going to be BIS for like DPS warriors and things like that, and probably even DPS paladins. Enchanting, I showed you guys earlier, we have the enchant chest retrocutioner. This is a tanking enchant, teaches you how to permanently enchant a piece of chest armor to reflect 9 damage back to the attacker when the bearer is struck in melee range. So basically the equivalent to putting a spike on a shield. This is now an enchant for your chest. We have enchant weapon dismantle, which again, this is showing the old stats, but I showed you before that this has now been changed to do a lot of damage. So this might be the enchant that rogues and warriors and paladins are going to be using going forward. As for engineering, we've got an easy throw radiation bomb, inflict 112 to 188 fire damage to those in the blast radius, and an additional 10 nature damage every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. Also reduces the movement speed of affected targets by 25%, so we have a new bomb there. The high yield bomb inflicts 150 to 250 fire damage to those in the blast radius, plus an additional 25 nature damage every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. Also reduces the movement speed of affected targets by 25%. We have the hyperconductive gold wrap, which is a waist. This is a cloth belt, 9 stamina, increases your chance to get a crit with melee and range attacks by 1%, increases your chance to hit with spells and with melee and range attacks by 1%, and an on use, pull a hyperconductive coin from your belt and flip it. On a roll of heads, you gain 3% increased crit with spells and melee attacks for the next 30 seconds. On a roll of tails, you gain 10% movement speed for the next 30 seconds. Polished true silver gears, which are going to be a new regent. Soul vessel, possibly a new regent, most likely the item used to craft all of these things. Whirling true silver gear wall, a shield, an epic shield with 9 strength, 10 stamina, 29 block rating, and 1760 armor. An equip effect that increases your chance to block attacks with a shield by 1%. Another equip effect on a successful block, the whirling razor sharp gears of this shield inflict 5 to 10 physical damage to the attacker and 2 to 10 physical damage to the bearer. So another like spike type of mechanic. Moving on to our leather working items, we have the faintly glowing leather, which is a new regent. The glowing neuro-linked cowl, which is a leather headpiece, 14 strength, 14 agility, 14 stam, gives you 1% chance to hit and an on use to inflict neurological shock, instantly dealing 343 to 757 damage to yourself, but also increase your melee and range attack speed by 20%. We have the glowing hyperconductive scale cough, which is a male headpiece, 14 stam, 15 intel, increased damage and healing done by magical spells and effects by 21, and an on use to inflict hyperconductive shock, instantly dealing 312 to 688 damage to yourself, but also increase your spell casting speed by 20% for 10 seconds. The neuroconductive channeler's hood, which is a leather headpiece here, that's 11 stam, 12 intel, 11 spirit, with 21 spell damage and an on use to gain neuromantic meditation, allowing 100% of your mana regeneration to continue while casting for 20 seconds. And then, last but not least, for the leatherworking helms, we have the Rad Resistant Scale Hood. 342 armor, 11 strength, 10 agility, 11 stamina, 10 intellect. an equip effect to increase your chance to hit with spells and melee and range attacks by 1%, and an on use, engage the radiation mitigation protocols in this helmet, causing you to immediately remove all active poison effects and gain immunity to all nature damage for 3 seconds. So this is most likely going to be for our shaman tanks. Shaman tanks are going to be using this, or even paladin tanks, even though it is male. But yeah, that's a pretty nice helm for tanking. As for our tailoring items, we have the Neurolinked Arcano Filament Monocle. 10 stamina, 11 intellect. This is a cloth helm. Increase your spell damage by 22. Gives you 4 MP5 and an on use to harness the latent arcane energy in the nearby air to give you charged inspiration, reducing the mana cost of all spells by 50% for 12 seconds. We have the Hyperconductive Arcano Filament, which is a new regent. We have the Invoker's Cord and the Invoker's Mantle here. The Invoker's Cord is 5 intellect, 7 spell damage waist, and the Invoker's Mantle is a 5 intellect, 7 spell damage shoulder item. So that is tons of new changes. I still have to put out my video showing you guys the Gnomrigan loot, so stay tuned for that. But these are some crazy changes, lots of stuff changing every single day. I'm doing my best to not spam your guys' feed as much as possible. I'm trying to condense information, so if I am a few hours late to a video, just know it's because I'm waiting to see if more information comes out before I just pump out a video, and I'm doing this so that you guys can watch everything all in one spot. So if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you don't miss the next time I post a video. And if you want to hang out with me live, I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/hammerdance. I'll drop a link to that in the description below this video. But also, guys, tonight, Friday, February 2nd, we are running a fun dueling tournament. We do this once every month on the first Friday of every month. We're doing a dueling tournament. We're doing it in the Gurabashi Arena tonight, where everyone pays like a 5 gold entry fee. It's elimination style brackets. I'm going to be streaming the whole thing on Twitch. So if you either want to compete or you want to just watch, head over to my Twitch. But if you want to compete, I'm going to drop a link to the Discord down below. Just check out the duel tournament channel and sign up. We're going to be going... The tournament's going to be starting around 8:30 p.m. Eastern time tonight. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, guys. And if you don't want to compete, you just want to hang out and watch, it'll be streamed live on Twitch with a link to that in the description as well. But anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one.